Hi hand readers, my name's Jennifer. I'm based in Johannesburg and I've been reading hands for many years. In today's video I'm going to be talking about the air realm of the 5-realm model. Through all my years of research, reading, writing, studying, acquiring and reading books about palmistry and hand reading, I found that there's no mention of any kind of context within which to deliver your findings. So there's no structure through which to counsel and coach. That is until I found the 5-element system. Within the 5-element system, we have a context named the 5 realms, and these are the 5 realms of human experience, which break down into the physical, the emotional, the creative stroke vocational, the mental or intellectual, and the spiritual. And each of these realms, these levels if you prefer, subcategorize into very specific component parts of human experience. Obviously, within the context of one hand reading, one can't go extremely deeply into every area of people's lives. But the point is that through working through this 5-realm model, we are able to ascertain which area of their life is perhaps in a critical need of some support, or where they most need guidance, or what I like to think of is most alive for them. Utilizing the 5-realm model takes our palm reading work, our hand reading work, chirological work by whatever name, to a new level. It really does bridge the divide between, let's call it, divination and psychology. Through looking at a set of hands or person's hands and working within the construct of the 5-realm model, we often find that there's some element of excess or deficit in one or another realm. And it's through bringing this to the client's attention that they acquire a deeper sense of self-integration. Chirology is a dialogue therapy, and the model is actually very practical. We can really happily describe each of these realms to the client and explain exactly what it is that we're setting out to do by identifying each component parts of that person's life, and then looking into the subcategorization and into the various counseling themes that emerge. The air realm is the mental or intellectual realm, and then that subcategorizes into how we communicate, both subjectively, in terms of how in touch we are with what we're feeling, thinking, as well as how we communicate outwardly in the world, and then the intellect, and that would categorize a little bit more into the psychology of the person as well, and then hobbies and interests. In the same way that I presented in my previous videos about the earth, water, and fire realms, the air realm has its own subset of counseling and coaching themes. A few air realm counseling and coaching themes, for example, would include the sheer alchemy of telling your story, the magic in the telling, the first step in, for example, trauma counseling, and how important it is to feel heard. I always think about our work as hand readers being primarily to do with listening rather than speaking. In fact, there's nothing more disappointing and abandoning than going to see a reader who gives you a barrage of words and doesn't stop to listen to your story, essentially. Also in the air realm is personal psychology. Has there been any mental breakdown? How balanced does the person feel? Obviously, psychological diagnosis will overlap with the water realm in terms of the emotions and the earth realm in terms of biochemistry. But psychology could be primarily governed by the air element within the 5-element system. Also, crippling anxiety, being caught in that sticky web of the challenges that anxiety presents. Anxiety ties very much in with the nervous system. The nerves in the 5-element system are governed by air, and therefore nervous system overdrive, which is so common, which would obviously be a coaching theme or counseling theme within this context. Some people live in their heads. They really do seem to sort of live without contact with their bodies, and that would be an air realm counseling and coaching theme, as is self-criticism and creeping pessimism and cynicism and sarcasm, all of these qualities that some people really suffer with, this interior realm of thought processes that disassociate them from intimacy. These could be resonating in the air realm of how to counsel and coach. People who constantly shift objectives, who feel like they're a leaf in the wind, there's a good metaphor for air, who are invaded by other people's thoughts and opinions. This is clearly an air realm counseling and coaching theme. Another subset in the air realm of counseling and coaching is, of course, to do with education and all the pain and difficulty and challenge that people experience with regard, for example, to being incorrectly channeled as a child. And their life purpose then gets lost somewhere by the wayside. And there are others, but today I'm just going to present 3 examples of markings on the hands that, as I always say, are like portals through which we might enter or find an entree into the conversation about that particular theme in the person's life. The first counselling and coaching theme that I'll present in the air realm counselling and coaching model for today is nervous system overdrive. As you can see in this image, there are so many lines on this person's hand. It's called a full hand. There are other markings in hands that aspect nervous system overdrive, for example, trembling, shaking, ringing gestures, bitten nails, excessive vertical or horizontal lines or ridges on nails, very moist skin would be another one. But in this handprint specifically, without even any of the other features I've just mentioned, we might identify a very high-strung nervous system. I do find that people with so many lines in their hands, too many lines really, you might say, might have this extroversion-introversion conflict. They swing erratically, so they'll go out and they'll become excitable and involved and engaged and stimulated by the outer world, and then very much need to withdraw and be at home and to be alone to recuperate their energy, so to speak. This is the second example for the day. It's an image of a hand with so-called worry lines. And worry lines ray out from Venus mounts, which are the balls of the thumbs, and cross over earth lines or lifelines. And this also draws attention to the nervous system. Worry lines also often ray out from Mars lines, lower Mars that is, which is the protrusion of flesh just above where the thumb protrudes from the hands. And when worry lines ray out from a Mars line, they've been termed attack lines. Of course, Mars being the god of war, and the lines are showing tremendous amount of anxiety and tension and worry. And they are, when the idea is that the attack is some internal intensity of experience and concern around whatever it is that those lines point towards. And the finger or the mount to which those lines flow gives us hand readers the clue as to what the actual worry is about. But in this print, you can see worry lines traveling in various directions. Some are traveling to Mercury, some to the Sun, and each of those have their own specific meanings. Usually, the mount towards which the deepest line runs aspects the biggest worry in the person's life. If it runs towards Mercury, the baby finger, that is, the air finger, the concern could be about money. If it runs towards the fire finger, that's the Sun or Apollo finger or the Sun mount, the concern could be about credibility, about success in life, perhaps even about career as well. And then if it runs towards Saturn, the middle finger, the earth finger, the concern might be familial, something about the family, or also about career, or also potentially about money. So this is where the intuition comes in. It's up to the discerning palm reader to feel into what specific is the source of that person's primary worry. Interestingly, babies are often born with worry lines, and that presents the question as to whether this is karma or whether they've picked up on the parents' concerns and worries while incubating. And then there are also other signs of worry in hands. Like, for example, for me, I often say if the moon mount is particularly red, I find that there's almost invariably, I can be very accurate and find that the person is particularly worried about somebody in the family, and often it's a child or a mother. That could be a very accurate meaning for a red moon mount. My third and final example of how we might enter into a conversation about an air realm counseling and coaching theme today is this image here of a mental breakdown. This is a young lady with an extremely broken set of airlines or headlines. This is a very, very serious feature in a set of hands. She did have a complete mental breakdown linked to alcoholism, interestingly, as well as terrible trauma in her family growing up. And this marking can actually also show a physical injury to the head, but in this case it was a critical disruption in her life where she ended up in an institution, a major mental crisis. Interestingly, a broken headline, although it's not commonly found, is also in some instances related to educational crisis, like some kind of blockage or termination, or rather halt, in the flow of the person's education. When counselling and coaching within the air realm of the 5-realm model, we might consider, is the person's air element like a hurricane through their life, blowing them apart, leaving them feeling fragmented, ungrounded, tossed this way and that? Or is their air element expressing as a lightness of being? Does their air element uplift them and help them feel free and light in their life? Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. In next week's video, I'll be talking about the Chi realm of the 5-realm model, which is my favorite realm to talk about, and I look forward to that. I'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching and listening.